The cockpit was already shaking when I arrived. Alarm tones stabbed through the air, every panel flashed with contradictory warnings, and the whole shuttle groaned as if the sky itself had taken hold of Columbia and refused to let go. I caught the back of a seat, planted my boots, and looked straight at a storm of data. Tire pressure messages, temperature spikes, hydraulic concerns, left side sensor dropouts. None of it was arriving cleanly. Some lines vanished, some repeated. Some came back a heartbeat late, as though the shuttle were arguing with its own instruments. I had dropped into disasters before, but this one was mercilessly precise. Re-entry was turning the outside of the orbiter into a furnace, and inside the flight deck, the crew were doing exactly what brave, disciplined astronauts do under impossible pressure. Reading checklists, confirming telemetry, fighting for clarity one procedure at a time. I will not pretend I could rewrite what history had already set in motion. I knew where I was, I knew what Columbia was, and I knew with a dreadful certainty how little time remained. So I did the only thing I could do. I looked for the truth hidden in the noise. At first glance, the failure chain matched the known terror of a wounded vehicle returning home. Heat where there should not be heat. Messages from the left side that suggested a growing breach. Systems beginning to lose coherence as damage spread. Yet, as I leaned over the scrolling data and compared one warning to the next, an ugly pattern emerged. Several signals were not merely failing, they were echoing. A sensor would trip, then reappear in altered sequence. A caution would return with timing too neat to be natural. One packet even carried a handshake signature I had seen before, buried years earlier in the digital filth of the Y2K hidden hand back door. That changed everything. The astronauts were fighting a physical catastrophe. But layered over it, thin, fast, and vicious, was something else. A parasitic interference was riding the shuttle's own data pathways, piggybacking on the real damage and making diagnosis harder with every passing second. It was not causing the original wound. The vehicle had already been hurt, but someone or something was using the chaos to muddy the record. To understand why that mattered, I have to step back a little. Columbia's STS-107 mission was not a trip to a space station, nor a routine delivery run. It was a dedicated science flight, an orbiting laboratory packed with experiments in microgravity, combustion, atmospheric observation, life sciences, and materials research. For days, the crew worked through a remarkably dense research schedule, gathering results that scientists on Earth had been waiting to study. It was the sort of mission that makes spaceflight more than spectacle. It makes it useful, valuable, dangerous too, if one particular result threatened the wrong secret. Because Columbia had launched with a warning no one fully defeated. During ascent, a piece of insulating foam broke away from the external tank and struck the shuttle's left wing. Foam sounds harmless until you remember the speed involved. At those velocities, even light material can hit like a weapon. The strike raised concern, but not with the urgency required by what it had actually done. The damage remained uncertain. The mission continued, and on re-entry, uncertainty became the deadliest thing aboard. Superheated plasma was now finding its way into the injured left wing. That was the real, historical mechanism of destruction. Not rumor, not fantasy, not sabotage replacing physics. Physics had already dealt the fatal blow. What I was seeing in the cockpit was a second layer, a deliberate digital distortion exploiting the final minutes of a doomed shuttle. I followed the corrupted timing pattern deeper into Columbia's computer logic, tracing it past ordinary flight data and toward a cluster of experiment management channels. There, the interference sharpened. It stopped behaving like random corruption and started behaving like purpose. The same ugly architecture I had encountered around the millennium was here again, adaptive, automatic, almost inhumanly patient. It mimicked valid system handshakes, slipped between routine telemetry calls, and kept nudging attention away from one specific payload path. That was when my blood ran cold. The target was not the shuttle alone. The target was evidence.